Live from the Spill Studios located by the liquor store of the I-35 interchange, it's time once again for a couple of cold ones with Corey and Carlisle.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah!
Behind the liquor store.
Yeah!
Not store, but stove.
Yeah!
You had a little soul in it this week. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Speaking of liquor store, it sounded like you had a little liquor yourself. You doing all right?
Oh, I'm doing great, actually. I feel all manly and testosterone pumped today. I earned several man badges working around the house.
Ah, okay. You ready to beat somebody's ass now. You feel like a real man.
That's right. It's like, yeah, I replaced tile in my bathroom and put in a new toilet seat, and I was in and out of Lowe's all day getting stuff, and I am good to go.
Hey, well, you feeling so manly and testosterone driven. I need some tile done over here. You still feeling all pumped and everything?
No.
Oh, shit. I caught you at the wrong time. Damn.
Yeah, no. See, because I did all this stuff, and my wife's just like, "You're so awesome. I'm gonna treat you tonight. I'm gonna go out and buy you pie." And so my wife is out right now buying me pie.
Oh, what? She don't want to give you her own pie right now?
Why you gotta be like that? Why you gotta disrespect my wife like that?
I meant that in a good way, man. That's the good pie. Minus the flaky crust, but man, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I know. I'm sorry, man.
Oh, lady, with the flaky crusted vagina. Oh,
hey, you spent all day working, man. It's Memorial Day weekend, and you pulling all kind of work around the house.
I told my wife, I was like, "Oh, you think it's Labor Day weekend?" And she's like, "Oh, shut up."
No, you need to relax.
Well, and tomorrow I'm helping someone move. I mean, it's you'd think, but it's actually great since there's no work to do. Everybody's like, "Hey, we can get stuff done." So, but that's what happens when you get married, man. All of a sudden, weekends and time off turns into, "Hey, this would be a great time to fix the bathroom."
Oh, them ladies keep you busy, huh?
They do.
I feel like a man today. I went out to the lake, Lake Travis, and got my ass thrown off of jet ski at 60 miles per hour. And let me tell you something.
Did you take the jet ski from someone else and they came to get it? Thrown off, just like,
yeah, it's like
get off my jet ski. I know you don't own a jet ski.
A jet ski jacking, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
It's like Grand Theft jet ski. Going, no,
right.
It wasn't anything like that. No, I went out. It's a friend of mine. Him and I went out to his friend's place, who apparently has a lot of money, therefore was able to buy not one but two jet skis. So we took the jet skis out, and I started feeling all like James Bond and everything because we had two jet skis. One, and here's the funny thing about jet skis: it's not the jet ski itself that determines how fast it goes; it's the key. So he gave me the slow key at first, and he took the fast key. And he's like, "Oh man, look, you got to try the fast speed, all right? This thing gets up to 60 miles per hour." He said, "But you don't want to do that." I'm like, "The hell I don't. I'm James Bond right now on a jet ski. I'm getting away from the villains, going after the bad guys." And I pumped that thing up to 60, and I was doing well for a while. I was like, yeah. Well, it was more like after a while, like, because I just sped up, man, because I was doing fine. I went up to 50, and I was feeling brave, and I was feeling like, oh, I'm a natural at this. Hit that 60 mile per hour mark, and next thing I know, I was in water. I didn't even see the thing in between. And here's the thing about going 60 miles per hour on something, that whether it be a car or a motorcycle or a jet ski, you roll. Like I was a skipping stone at first. I didn't sink. I go into water. I skipped for about a good 5 feet.
Yeah. Easily.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I had a concussion at first. I felt my head hit the water and it hit hard. I had that surface tension. I was like, Jesus, man. Oh, this is gonna be the saddest thing if I died out here in the middle of Lake Travis trying to like ride a jet ski. But anyway, I'm feeling all right now. If I all of a sudden just collapse in the middle of this, you know what happened.
Leon would have given you so much hell at your funeral.
Oh, I know.
Because he's got that whole opinion. He's like, black men should never drown or freeze in anything.
That is his theory.
That's his long-held opinion, and he would just be like, "Man, what were you doing going near water?"
It's true. Better. Black men should never die drowning, freezing, getting caught by a dog, coming
That's
out of
what
like
white
falling
men
from the
do.
sky. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
our job. Our job is. I was just watching this great video yesterday. There was a great thing that Time magazine had called the 50 Worst Inventions, and somebody invented a parachute jacket, and they tested it jumping off the Eiffel Tower, and they've got footage of it because they had, they had young, camera technology had just been invented, so they're like, hey, let's film this, and the guy jumps off, and the parachute refuses to deploy, and he just smacks into the ground. And the last part of the film is them with rulers measuring the indentation the guy left when he hit the ground. It's some cold-blooded
Jesus.
shit. It's like only a white man would do that.
Yeah, they're not worried about him. They're like, we got to worry about this project. And thus, Jackass was invented.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? You did something today that was pretty cool. I kind of feel like I'm on not a couple of cold ones, but I kind of feel like I'm on Let's Do This right now because you actually gave us some topics to talk about.
Oh, we've got some stuff to talk about tonight, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You wanna kick it off, though, with the Top 5, brought to you by Spill.
Yes, that's what we always do. Just to give people a brief thing of what these stories are about, because it's pretty interesting. Of course, we're going to talk about some deaths. We are going to talk about the latest casting in Spider-Man. Now, we know that everybody has been talking about the casting in Spider-Man. Those rumors and stories have been going around forever. But really, seriously, this is probably the most interesting casting of Spider-Man that I've ever heard.
What's key to talk about is it's not casting. It's somebody right now who is lobbying for an audition.
Yeah.
He's not even saying he has to be cast. He wants the audition. But the very nature of him saying he wants the audition has caused a shitstorm on the internet already.
Yes.
And I can't wait to talk about this one.
Yeah, I can't either because I'm dying to know your opinion on this. I know people, when we tell people, they're going to think I have one opinion, they're going to think you have another, unless you've actually heard me talk about these kind of casting choices before. And then we're going to talk about some stuff that has to deal with The Hobbit. Kind of sad news, but could be good news. We'll see what happens.
We'll see.
All right, you want to get a number 5?
The number 5 film brought to you by Spill.
Damn, boy. Kick that funk.
I got the fever today, yo.
Jesus, got that booger nose funk going on. Let's see here. Number 5 is Robin Hood. Wow, this is a weird. There's some weird they got going on here. Let me see what they're doing here. I usually go to Box Office Mojo, and they did something crazy today. All right, here we go. Robin Hood at number 5, pulling in $10.3 million this week, bringing its total up to $83 million. It cost $200 million to make, so I don't think that they're very happy with this movie. Universal is the studio that released this, and I don't think they're very happy at all.
No. This is done very poorly, especially combined with the marketing money they spent on this film. This is a big failure. I think overall, in the long run, it'll end up making its money back, but it is not going to be the profitable film they were hoping for out of Ridley Scott with directing Russell Crowe.
Actually, maybe it's an American disappointment, but from what I understand, I don't have the story in front of me. I know the details too much, but I hear that this movie is doing actually very well overseas.
That wouldn't surprise me. Well, right now, foreign, it's done 154 million, which isn't quite it's less than 2/3, which is the normal formula. On average, domestic counts for 1/3, foreign is 2/3. But we'll see as it opens in other countries. But right now, it's made 237 million worldwide.
Yeah, so it's actually worldwide not doing too bad. They keep bringing up these stories how it's been number 1 for like 2 or 3 straight weeks over in overseas. So not doing so bad, but over here, not getting the reception that they thought they would get from a Ridley Scott movie, teaming up again with Russell Crowe. Most of us, if not all of us here at Spill, hated the movie. So let's move on to number 4.
The number 4 film.
Wow, dropping down to number 4 is Iron Man 2. Brought in
Iron Man.
Yes. Brought in $16 million this weekend, and that brings its total up to $274.6 million. The movie cost $200 million to make, so opposite of what Robin Hood did. On the flip side, I think Paramount is very happy with Iron Man.
Oh yeah, and of course it's actually oddly enough, it's a straight 50-50 split right now with the foreign. It's made 276 million in foreign sales, so it's up to 550 million worldwide right now. It has done very well.
Yeah, it's been out for 4 weeks. Not bad for a blockbuster movie. I guess kind of got the return that they wanted it to. How does it compare to the original Iron Man? Like box office wise. I mean, do you know?
I can find out here in half a second. I know that it hasn't quite touched what it did in the first release, but let's go ahead and
I don't think it's doing as good as business as the first Iron Man.
Well, it made $318 million the first time around, so it is roughly about almost 50 million shy of Iron Man's full run, but it's only been out a few weeks and still has a ways to go. I don't think it's quite going to beat the 318, but you never know. It could keep going. After all, we have not had a really solid replacement for family entertainment since then.
And this is also considered to be kind of a low weekend for box office, kind of a disappointing weekend for box office, including the two new entries that we have, which at number 3 we have The Prince of... Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, sir. I interrupted your saying.
Oh, I keep the flow going, man. Just go.
Oh, okay.
Go.
All right. Look at keep going. Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. No Pirates of the Caribbean like they thought this would be. Brought in much less than that, and it's not going to go anywhere near to be the franchise that series is. It brought in $30.2 million this weekend. That also, wow, what's up with all these $200 million budgets going on? This is also $200 million.
Because $200 million is the new $100 million. Remember in the 90s, it was like everyone wanted to make a $100 million movie. Now it's $200 million.
And that was back when everybody used that phrase. I used to hate that phrase. This year, the $100 million, 200-pound gorilla. What do they say? 300-pound gorilla in the room.
800-pound gorilla.
800-pound gorilla. Yeah, I was like
300-pound gorilla. It's like anemic and like limping. Like, oh, I'm only $100 million movie.
I know that 300-pound gorilla is called Cyrus, but they. No, I'm kidding.
I thought he was a 300-pound potato.
we love to make fun of him.
He's more potato now than man.
This movie. Everybody now, you saw this?
Yeah, I've seen everything in the top 5.
Okay, go ahead and talk about it because I want to hear your opinion on Prince of Persia.
You know, in my review I called it cotton candy entertainment. It's the type of thing that it's really tasty while you're watching it, and the minute it's over, it's gone. The minute it touches your tongue, it evaporates. There's nothing there. It's got some fun action sequences, but the main problem with the film is it's built around this conceit that this magical knife that when you touch the hilt, you can go back in time up to a minute, correcting any mistakes you have. Now, while it's a cool concept, what it does is it actually robs the movie of tension because any bold choices they make, you always feel like, even if they don't do it, you always feel like they could always go back and fix it. And that, unfortunately, makes everything in the film feel hollow because if you don't have to worry about the consequences of your actions, then what's the point to it? It's the problem I had with the ending of How to Train Your Dragon, where everyone's like, what are you talking about? There were no consequences. He lost his leg. And it's like, we're never going to see this character again. We're never going to see him have to wrestle with having lost his leg. We don't feel like it's important. He got a replacement leg. It's no big whoop. It doesn't affect the story in any way, shape, or form. And ultimately, that's how all these everything that happens in this film feels. It feels like there's no weight to them whatsoever.
Yeah, and they put that device in there because most people know by now that this is based on a long-running series of video games. Somebody listed this back as going back to the 90s. I thought that this was back out in the 80s. I could have swore I remember this being like on like Commodore 64. Prince of Persia.
It was.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
in
what
fact,
I
used to play it. It was the hardest fucking game in the world. You kids have no idea what hard video games are. You're all like, oh, it's really hard. It's tough. So I went and got the walkthrough online. Oh, walkthrough? What the hell's a walkthrough? What the hell's the internet?
Yeah.
When we had games, we had to figure that shit out ourselves, and Prince of Persia was one of the hardest. The minute you got to the mirror scene and your alternate jumps out of the mirror and comes and kills your ass, it was harder than shit to get past. That
we're talking about old school Prince of Persia. So you kids don't know nothing about
Persia.
that.
No Sands of Time bullshit.
No, we ain't talking about good. We're talking about side-scrolling blocks. We're talking about that.
The games didn't have colons, motherfucker. Our games had a title, and if it was equal, it had a 2 after it.
Yeah,
Prince of Persia. End of story. And it was a cool game, but it was a tough game. And yeah, I loved Prince of Persia, and I love that they rebooted the series and that they made a really cool video game out of it. But I think ultimately by taking the Sands of Time element and bringing that over into the movie, it just doesn't have a soul. And it's fun to watch, and it's definitely the best video game movie ever made. But the best video game movie ever made is still only a good movie, and I consider it a low matinee. I think if you see it, you must see it in the theater, but you are not missing anything if you don't watch it.
See, I thought at first, I was like, man, this is probably the best video game movie made. And that's not saying a whole lot because I liked it probably a little bit less than you did. But I thought, like, is that true? And then I said, you know what? I still think Mortal Kombat holds it, man.
You know what? I think you know what? I think I'll give that to you. Mortal Kombat's much more fun. It's not. I don't think Mortal Kombat's as good a movie, but I think it's more infinitely rewatchable, and I think it's more fun. It's flawed as hell, but it's flawed as hell in the way that really good Paul W.S. Anderson movies are flawed as hell. In that it's crap, but you love the hell out of it anyway, like I do with Death Race.
Yeah,
like I know Death Race isn't a good movie. I know it, but I love Death Race.
Well, that's the same thing. Yeah, with Mortal Kombat, I was like, hey man, the acting in this is not that great, but it looks like the game. They got some cool fight scenes in here. They gave me I was about to say they gave me a good fucking theme song. Mortal Kombat.
That was I love that movie, and I think it's a lot of fun. And you know what? I think it is ultimately overall. I would never watch Prince of Persia again, but if you came over and brought over a Blu-ray of Mortal Kombat, we'd throw that shit on and throw down.
I know. I used to dance that shit too, and they used to Liu Kang.
Oh, I had that soundtrack. Yeah, that soundtrack's awesome. Had some Gravity Kills on it, and had a lot of good music on that soundtrack. Actually,
I got to ask you something though. Everybody that's talking about this movie, at least the reviews that I read, they're talking about how Jake Gyllenhaal was miscast, and I thought. It's like, man, Jake Gyllenhaal kind of held his own. He kept his accent, even though why they speaking British, I don't know. With British accents, I don't know why, But
here's the thing. Well, it's American filmmaking
of course.
For you. Anytime you cast a white person as a foreigner, no matter what foreign country he's supposed to be from, no matter what its ethnicity is supposed to be, if you make it a British accent, it sounds foreign to regular Americans.
Or what they do is...
If he's a Chinese villain, if he's a Russian villain, most people didn't even recognize that. Why can I not think of his name all of a sudden? James Bond, the original one.
You're talking about? Oh, he was Scottish. You're talking about Sean Connery.
Sean Connery, yeah, when he played the Russian in Hunt for Red October, everybody's like, "Oh, that's a Russian accent." No, it's fucking Scottish.
Yeah. Oh, people really thought. Oh, gee. Here's the deal though. Like, people will say, "Okay, you know what? We're making this movie. It takes place in a foreign land. We can't put this on subtitles. You know what? British accents, that's foreign to them. That says foreign. So just make them speak British."
The
British accents.
The only miscasting argument I can actually hear about this film is why were the Persians white? And all the Persians were white, and it's like, okay, that I will buy. Because that's an honest to God complaint that makes a lot of sense.
Well, even some people say that they're very European light skinned Persians. So there
are.
I would have liked to see them cast a Persian actor or a Middle Eastern actor, but I know the business decision. I'll always approve of that, but I have to say I'm not gonna blame Jake Gyllenhaal for that. I actually like Jake Gyllenhaal in the movie. It's the movie I had a problem with. I gave it like an enthusiastic rental. I had fun with it, but the action is just. It's mundane, pretty much customary action that we see in every action film.
Well, you know what? I really like the action. My problem is that it was the exact same action sequences from Aladdin.
There was no magic carpet.
Dude, no, there's no magic carpet, but the scene in which the little boy is running through the that was straight out of Aladdin.
Oh yeah,
straight out.
The young scrappy street wolf running around the rooftops. Yeah.
But I love Gyllenhaal in this though. I think Gyllenhaal proved that he's got the charisma. He had this roguish charisma that I really bought, and he had this great chemistry with Gemma Arterton that was just fantastic.
Well, I didn't think that the chemistry was that good. She annoyed me. I thought that there was nothing there.
I could not take my eyes off of her. She was gorgeous.
Oh, she's
And
hot. Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, she was gorgeous, not hot. She was gorgeous, and I thought they had a great back and forth. I think they worked perfectly. Now that I've seen him do this, normally we see him brood, and he's like this depressed character in most films. I want to see him do a film with Reese Witherspoon. I want to see them do a romantic comedy together.
Weren't they in the movie together already?
It wasn't a romantic comedy.
Yeah, it was the political film.
Yeah, the wartime, the brother movie.
No. It was a movie. The one where
that's right.
You know what I'm talking about.
Rendition.
Rendition. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was the wife back home. They really didn't have anything going on together. I mean, that's where they met, but it was there's very little of them together in that film. I want to see them in a romantic comedy together, and I want to see them in a very Hepburn Tracy romantic comedy where they're literally going back and forth. Something like that movie we really like that nobody gives love to, Heaven Can Wait, or Just Like Heaven.
Oh, I never saw Just Like Heaven.
Yes, you did. We all saw it, didn't we? Or were you the one that missed it?
I was the one that missed it.
Oh, see, the rest of the crew really loves this movie. If you guys enjoy the romantic comedy that we all love, that was this, Just Like Heaven, with Mark Ruffalo and Reese Witherspoon. That's the type of thing I want to see her and Gyllenhaal do. I think they would be really great together.
A lot of people forget that Jake Gyllenhaal. We talk about him brooding and being serious. Everybody forgets he was Bubble Boy. You remember that?
Well, we don't forget that he was Bubble Boy.
We try to forget.
Try to forget that he was Bubble Boy.
I think he was a little kid. He's a child actor. I thought at one time his first movie was October Sky, but somebody either I was reading up on him, somebody pointed out to me. I think he was in City Slickers too. He was a little kid in City Slickers.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, a guy goes way back. He has a long acting career. A lot of people really recognize him when he blew up in Donnie Darko. But yeah, a lot of stuff he's been trying to be more of a serious actor, especially with his sister out there, Maggie Gyllenhaal. They're both kind of considered to be, real actors, and I can see him not wanting to do anything that has no substance, which is why I wonder why he did this movie. But I can see him being both, like, as you say, the kind of leading man that you're speaking of, and I can also see him being more of that action hero who actually is human. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I liked him a lot. I think he was fantastic. I think I want to see. He proved, if this movie is remembered for anything, it will be the performances and what the characters did, and for being the movie that put a comic spin on the Tea Party.
Oh, wait a minute, because I thought it was an allegory for Iraq and weapons of mass destruction and all that kind of shit. The part where they're talking about we had attacked the city and they had no weapons. I'm like, oh shit, just throw George Bush in here.
No, not at all. No, I didn't see that at all. No, that the only thing that I saw in there was, of course, and now I'm going to blank on his name all of a sudden, from Spider-Man 2.
Who? Oh, you're talking about Alfred Molina.
Yeah, Alfred Molina. I'm blanking on names all of a sudden.
I do it all the time.
Yeah, but Alfred Molina was funny as hell, but he was a Tea Party member. He was a right winger.
Wow, I'm surprised you saw that, but you didn't see the whole allegory for Iraq.
Well, you have to actually read into that.
Really? Where they actually come right out and say we attacked the city because they've been using our weapons, and then they go there and find nothing. You didn't see that at all?
No, I did not see that at all, because it really didn't feel like it was overt. It was just because that's a convention that's been in fantasy and in historical films for quite some time. That didn't strike me as anything out of the ordinary. But what did stand out, of course, was Alfred Molina complaining about taxes and how the government gets you by taxing you, and how they tax the small businessman out of existence.
See, that's funny, because I always thought I thought that was a commonly used. I can see that being connected to politics these days, but I always saw that as an old narrative device too. People who hate taxes. I mean, ever since talking about Robin Hood.
Oh, sure, but the way he was presented was very much like they were making fun of the Tea Party and of the right wing. But no, I didn't see an Iraq allegory in there at all. I could see how you could see it, but ultimately it doesn't. I don't really buy that as being intentional, because had it been an Iraq allegory, they would have made it more brutal, and it would have been more of a situation in which people were really brutalized and everything was left in a shambles, and everybody was going around, asking themselves, why did we?
Well, I didn't think they were gonna make a whole movie based on like the. I thought it was sort of like, hey, this is something that people heard in the news. We're just gonna use this in our movie so that people can kind of connect to it a little bit. And we're not gonna center the whole movie around it. We're just gonna use that as the device to attack this city, and people be like, oh, kind of like Iraq. But anyway,
except that at the end of the day, the weapon of mass destruction they were looking for was in that city.
I guess so.
Because what you find out is that they're looking for this thing, and it turns out it really was there.
Oh, actually, though, it was not a weapon. They used weapons because the city was peaceful.
Oh, it was a weapon, all right.
In the wrong hands.
In the wrong hands, it could be a weapon. So ultimately, I think I got to call bullshit on that angle, because really, if you were going for that, you wouldn't have something like that be there.
I don't know. I still see it, but I hear what you're saying.
That's all good. All right. Well, let's get through this.
Let's talk about a real weapon of mass destruction here. Fucking
number 2.
Sex in the City 2. Jesus Christ, man. The only good thing that I can say about this movie is that it did not have the success of the first film. I think that first film brought in like $57 million its opening weekend, and this movie brought in, now if you include, it opened up on Thursday?
Yep.
Yeah, if you include Thursday, the movie made a total of $46 million, $46.3 million, and
which definitely puts it over over the number one movie. I think you should include Thursday in this particular thing, making this the number one movie of the week ultimately. But
I'm going by the true weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday here. Yeah, if you go by Thursday, then yeah. But if you go by just the weekend, yeah, the number one movie is something that's a holdover from last week. But this movie, I've said everything. I've exhausted myself criticizing this movie, and there's nothing more that I can say that probably isn't echoed by a million critics out there already, except for those few people. There's like one or two people who actually come out and say, oh, those people, damn those critics who hate this movie. They don't understand it. They're just against feminism. And I just like, are you serious? A movie like this that seems to like be an insult to feminism, you're going to defend? Anyway, you know what? I didn't hear your opinion of this. I don't know if you're like some of the guys that we saw with who I thought would hate it. And they were like, it's not all that bad.
I hated it.
Okay. Good. God damn it. Real man right here.
I think it's better than the first one, but I still hated it. It's a terrible movie. It's still just like the first one. It doesn't have a plot. This one has more of a story. There's still no plot there. And ultimately, I was satisfied with the ending because I hated the hell out of these characters. They're terrible, terrible characters. They're walking around like the ugly Americans in Abu Dhabi. They're just doing retarded things, and ultimately by the end of the movie they're all but thrown out of the country. And I was really enjoying the schadenfreude of watching these characters get booted out.
Yes, I was angry actually. People know these characters: Miranda, Charlotte, Samantha, Carrie from Sex and the City. The actors, most of all Sarah Jessica Parker. When I was watching this, man, I was thinking, wow, they've managed to insult women and people in the Middle East at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And
absolutely.
What a feat! I give this movie points for being offensive on like several fronts in one film. But I see, that's the other thing that confuses me. Like I don't know if everybody says this. If you remember, I think I was the guy that actually said the first movie was okay. I didn't really have a big problem with that first movie. And I was the one that argued like it gives fans of that show what they want, because I used to watch some episodes. But this film, this to me, the more I think about it, I'm like, wow, I've gone on such a tirade. I should have given this movie a fuck you, because I really do, in hindsight, see it as way more offensive than I ever did in the theater, because I was just exasperated in the theater.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you're exhausted. It's 2.5 hours long.
And does nothing. Once they leave the city, they do nothing but cry, drink, and look for gay people in other cultures. I was like, wow, they really made a 2.5 hour movie that does nothing?
Well, the thing that really gets me is they're trying to make points about how conservative the Middle East is, but their points carry no weight whatsoever. One of the characters gets arrested for having sex on the beach with a guy, and they're kind of making this point like, we're Americans, this is how we do, we're not doing anything wrong, and this is so wrong that you would treat people this way in this country. And I don't know about you, Corey, but I can't think of a single state in the union where you wouldn't get arrested for screwing someone out on the beach. I think public lewdness is still illegal in every state in the union, and public sex is not allowed. And with the movie ending with that, montage of the various women going back and doing things, and her getting screwed on the beach on the hood of a car with the fireworks going off.
Yeah, Kim Cattrall. Yeah,
it's like, well, I wasn't going to spoil it, but.
But yeah, I think everybody kind of knows that character who you're talking about.
Yeah, and they're like, and they're like, and she finally got back to the good old U.S. of A. and finally got to have her sex on the beach.
We can fuck with freedom.
But yeah, except that you can't. Like, there's the cops right off camera about to arrest her ass for the exact same thing. Because you know what? The Middle East might be conservative, but doing that will get you arrested anywhere, except maybe Germany.
Yeah, and if it was real life, it probably would have got ass stoned or something in the head too. I think what they were trying to say there is like, oh, well, we left the presence of these people here, and they're so conservative that they had us followed. And I was just like, well, you know what? I can appreciate that, but it's still sort of a condescending thing where we're going to come over to your country and not only like tell you how backwards you are, but flaunt our ways in front of your face. There's better issues because, hey, there's some things I agree with them on. The whole feminist thing and defending people, especially women in oppressed countries, I'm like, that's fine, but there's certain ways to approach that. The way you do it in this movie is just by being as lewd as you can be and flaunting your shit in front of people's face, which here in America, you would be seen as sort of a disgusting person too.
Yeah, like, well, and that's the other thing is, I've got all these other people who are screaming how, you're so PC and how dare you defend this culture and they're so horrible and terrible. And it's like, look, you cannot expect respect from people unless you give respect. And the truth of the matter is it might be okay at your house for people to shit on the couch. You might enjoy having someone take a nice steaming turd on your couch. But if you come into my house and you shit on my couch, I'm going to kick your ass. And I don't care how things are done in your home. So when you go over to someone else's house, if you go into someone else's country, you respect the customs no matter how much you find it revolting, or else you don't go to that country. It is that simple. And the idea of really the whole reason they set this in Abu Dhabi was they ran out of things in the show and the previous film to offend people with. And so what they did instead is, hey, let's send them to one of the most conservative places in the world and have them do their thing over there so that it can still be considered offensive. Yeah. And it was just it was offensive, but not in the way it was supposed to be. Instead, it was offensive to women, and it was offensive to the Middle East. And I felt it was a very disrespectful movie. And
I just beg that women really think about this. And it's not many. There are a lot of women who say, you know what, don't lump me in with the women that like this movie. I'm not that kind of person. And there have even been some women who have been like, oh, I am a fan of the show, and I like these women, these characters, but here – I hate these characters, what they've become. They've become nothing but one-dimensional, very shallow bitches. And those few women who are out there saying, hey, you know what? You guys just hate it because it's a strong feminist film. It's like, really think about what you're talking about when you use that term. Really, with this film, think about that.
And I've gotten a lot of weird reactions. In fact, I published a Hollywood.com piece this week called Sexism in the City. About some of the strong reactions I've been getting to my review. I had a woman who's a producer on a major motion picture that comes out next year. I'm not going to say what picture it is, but this is somebody who should know better than to pick a fight with someone in the press. And she emailed me to tell me that Ain't It Cool News needed to hire a woman to cover these movies because this movie was made for women and a man can't properly review it. And that women need to review women movies and men need to review men movies. She would never think that a woman should ever review The Hangover and a man should never review Sex and the City.
The dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, my initial response to her was, look, ma'am, all due respect, but if I were to email you and tell you that there were things that a woman can't do, and that you should leave it to men, you'd come after me with a claw hammer and a team of lawyers. And I had a few different women who came at me with this tact, and I sent them nice emails back, and every single one of them apologized for being disrespectful. And they said, you know what, you're right. I was just kind of angry. I really want this movie to be good. I'm really sorry. Thanks for getting back to me. But this woman is like, no. It's not sexist. It's realistic. You don't understand, young man. And I couldn't believe what I was reading. And my wife was just getting angry. And she's like, what? Does she not get it? She started getting angrier than I was. It was very strange. But yeah, this is how people feel.
Oh, you should have asked her. So, do you like to go to other countries and spit on their culture and walk around vapid and just be concerned more about the shoes instead of respecting those people over there?
Her argument was that she didn't expect the movie to be good, and that nobody's really expecting the movie to be good. That it's all about going and revisiting these old friends that are characters that all these women feel connected to. It's about getting together with your friends and going to see these characters one more time and having a good time and drinking Cosmos. And if you don't get that as a man, then you shouldn't be reviewing this movie.
I get it. There's a lot of movies that men go see where they just want to see action and dumb action, and they don't give a shit. But if these guys went over to another country and just started indiscriminately blowing people away, don't you think that some men would be offended?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get whatever, man. Tell her she's dumb. So you want to go to number one?
The number one film. And oddly enough, I went and checked the numbers, would have been number one still if you include Thursday.
Shrek Forever After.
Yep. So they really did take the weekend. And if you count Thursday, it took the weekend by about $1.5 million.
Okay. So I guess
still number one.
Right now it's at $43.3 million. That's what it brought in this weekend, bringing its total up to $133 million, and it cost $165 million. So this is what I was saying. Like I like the movie better than you did, but I'm tired of Shrek, so I'm by no means defending this movie. I'm just kind of like, in my review, I just said it's something where they don't know what to do with it anymore, and I think now that the gross of the films are starting to show that. And this movie here is going to probably do something similar to How to Train Your Dragon type business, where
I don't know about that. I'm not convinced that it's going to have the legs that How to Train Your Dragon had.
Well, I'm just thinking about maybe not as long as How to Train Your Dragon, which I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's coming out in the next few weeks, so I can't really say strongly for sure. But I'm just looking at what's coming out like next week, and I don't really think that movie that's coming out next week is going to have that strong of an opening, which is Get 'Em to the Greek.
That is correct. I don't think it's going to have the opening that they would like it to have, but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, hey, look, it's Shrek. Whatever. I don't. Well, I've said everything I need to say about Shrek. Also, fuck Shrek. Let's move on to some interesting things.
Some real interesting things. Yeah.
Now, what you want to start with first?
I was going to ask you, what would you like to start with?
You know what? I'm going to go ahead and get into some stuff that you know what? To hell with it. Let's get into something just in case you run out a little bit or we're cutting it close. We won't run out of time to discuss this one topic right here, and that's the Spider-Man thing.
Spider-Man.
Hey, you the way you said it, you kind of said it in a jive kind of way, but
well, no,
with the way yeah, I know. Okay, maybe that's the way I'm taking it because of the nature of the story.
Spider-Man, motherfucker.
There is a guy who is auditioning who's petitioning to audition for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and that is Donald Glover, a.k.a. at Mr. Donald Glover on Twitter.
At first, when you gave me the story, I said, man, Danny Glover? I was like, what the fuck is he doing trying to audition for this? But no, it's a much younger black person. It is Donald Glover. He is the guy that is on Community. He's from Derek Comedy. He is the one that I saw first and thought he was very funny in the bro rape video that you showed me before you actually bro raped me. And I also think that he looks like he's pretty funny in the movie. I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's good or not. The Mystery Team, yeah. I mean, the guy's funny. I think I remember when you showed me that, I was thinking, man, these guys, I thought they were just a bunch of kids who were putting stuff together on their own. And
well, they were.
Yeah, and well, they blown up because I was like, man, I hope these guys actually get some attention because they're very funny in this video. The bro rape video.
Yeah, they did stuff like that, and they used that to get money together to make a film, which they took to Sundance, which was Mystery Team.
Yeah.
And they self-distributed that and took it around. And at the same time, several of the guys, through the success there, got on several highly notable shows, mostly on NBC, oddly enough. So you've got Donald Glover on Community, and one of the other Derek comedy guys made it to Saturday Night Live. He's a regular, and yeah, they're doing really well. And let's get into this. Should there be a black Spider-Man?
Oh, that's because Derek Glover, who is black, he is the black guy. I mean, I keep saying Derek Comedy. Donald Glover, he is
Little
black.
Donnie Glover.
Yes, he is. Pretty soon, he probably will look like Danny Glover as he gets older. He is a black kid, and he is out there tweeting for people to get him an audition for the next Spider-Man movie, which is a reboot done by the guy who did, what is it, 500 Days of Summer. That's the guy who's going to be directing that. What's his name? Mark Webb. Yeah. Now, here's the deal. You're asking, should there be a black Spider-Man? Look, I'm not going to say whether there should or there shouldn't be. I want to tell you my preference. And my preference is hell no. Because I've always come out and said, with these comic book heroes and these iconic characters, whenever you see them in the comics, they're not always going to be the same, but that's kind of how I like to see them when they're brought in the movies. I know the costume might change. I know that, maybe certain characteristics will change, but I do want to see them be the same ethnicity. Otherwise, you're going in a totally different direction. Now, that's just my preference right there.
I could not disagree with you more.
Oh.
Oddly enough. Here's the thing is normally I agree with you, but I agree when you actually are required to make changes to a character. For example, you cannot have a black or an Asian Captain America. That just doesn't work. You're asking us to believe that they would that the guy they would choose in 1941 during highly racist America during World War II, that they would choose a person of color to be representative of the country. No, that never happened. You can't have a black Thor. Thor is a Scandinavian character. He is a Norse god. Spider-Man is a nerdy kid from a poor part of town who lives with his aunt and uncle and ultimately feels responsible for something that happens to his uncle because of small-time crime, and ends up becoming a superhero with a goofy twist to him that he likes. He's a big fan of the goofy comedy and joking around with people, throwing out quips. And I don't see anything in the core character of Spider-Man that has to change one iota by changing his skin color. You don't have to change where he lives. You don't have to change his background. You don't have to change his family. You don't have to change anything. The idea of a young nerdy black boy living with his black aunt is not anything that would make people take pause. It's not like Batman, where we have to accept that there was, his dad was a super rich multi-billionaire in the 70s and 80s.
Now, while I agree with you, let me throw something in there, an argument
Go for it.
that people would say.
Okay.
Pete, now, according to your train of thought, and I agree with you completely, so we got that. I'm just preparing you for what some naysayer might say.
Oh, no, I'm aware. I've already been taking flack on this.
Because they will say that, okay, look, Captain America, historically, we'll give you that. Same thing with the mythology of Thor. Scandinavian, yeah, that doesn't make sense to change his race. Now, a nerdy kid from a poor part of the city, living with his aunt and uncle, that doesn't require any sort of ethnicity at all. That could be anybody. In fact, that seems like that would probably fit what a black kid would be going through in the inner city.
Absolutely.
So they're saying, people might say, if there's any character that you can change black, it would be Spider-Man. How can you compare him to Thor or Captain America in those respects?
Well, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Wait a minute. What are you saying? Are you saying that they could change his color then?
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any reason why he can't be black.
Oh, wait a minute. I was the one that was saying I don't want to see him be black.
Yeah, and I'm the one saying that I do.
Oh, okay.
And now the only reason why I say that I
thought you said I totally disagree. I totally agree with you.
No, I disagree, my man. No, I think No, I absolutely think that. And here's what it was. Had you approached me and said, I think we need to audition blacks for Spider-Man, I would have gone, I don't see why you have to do that. I don't see why the change. But the minute you mentioned Donald Glover, I can see a Donald Glover Peter Parker, and I like what I see. What I'm imagining with Donald Glover is that is an interesting Spider-Man. And what makes it even more interesting is this notion that he puts on this full body suit that you never see an inch of skin of Peter Parker. And so there's absolutely nothing that would change. In fact, the one thing you could put into it is people believing that Spider-Man is white. And him that being kind of the ultimate hiding place is that everybody's assuming that Spider-Man is some white guy and it's this young black kid who lives with his aunt. And I kind of like that concept. I like that idea, and I like the idea of Donald Glover playing that geeky, nerdy kid that Donald Glover can deliver funny lines.
Yeah.
And I think and you don't have to change anything about the character. You do not have to in any way blackify the hero. The character remains the same. The only difference is the actor playing it.
Yeah, and that's why I feel bad saying, well, I don't feel that bad. That's why I feel bad saying that I don't want to see a black Spider-Man, because I'm just my personal preference is I'm so attached to what that character looks like in the comics, and they've never done anything in the comics to actually even insinuate that character could be another color or it could be anything else. I like to see those characters translated to the screen the way I see them in the comic books. Once you start to get away from the color of that character, you start giving me not so much a translation of what you have, but you start to get into the areas of a reimagining of that character. And if I'm not warned about that or told about that, or I'm somebody saying like I want to try something different, you're just telling me I'm getting Spider-Man, and all of a sudden you'd say, hey, we cast this black character, I'm like, well, now you're taking sort of this creative license with it that I don't think people were prepared for, and especially somebody like me.
But the thing is if he and here's the thing is he's got to do well in the audition. I'm not saying he's the guy, but of all the other guys, everyone else is talking about getting the gig. Donald Glover is the first one that I said, yes, that guy can be Spider-Man. I would buy that Spider-Man, and I would want to pay to see that Spider-Man. I'm not seeing that out of any of the other guys they're kicking around. That doesn't mean they won't make good Spider-Man, but I'm not seeing it like I see this character.
Yeah. I'm not against, and I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack. Like people, you don't want to see a fellow brother be a Spider. Why are you holding brothers down? I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. I create new characters with black heroes. I mean, I don't mind it. Creating new characters with other ethnicities, that's fine with me. And I don't think that he can't play the role. I'm with you. I actually see this guy being probably the best choice as far as the personality of Spider-Man. As far as the look, I think that'll be a bad move, first of all, from a business perspective. I mean, there's going to be a backlash of people going to say, look, even with this guy being able to play this role doesn't mean that they can always play that role because of the character that we've known that we've come to know and love in the comics. I just think that's going to throw way too many people off.
You know what? But that's exactly what people said about Battlestar Galactica when they took the iconic character of Starbuck and made him a woman. And people like, you're missing the point of Starbuck. And instead, people saw it and they said, holy crap, this woman is really great as Starbuck, and we really love how they've taken everything about Starbuck and put it in a woman's body and made it awesome.
Can I tell you my argument with that?
Go for it.
Battlestar Galactica, first of all, does not have the history that Spider-Man does. I don't think it's
That's true.
I don't think it's near as iconic and a part of history. I mean, as Spider-Man. I mean, look, Battlestar Galactica, is it big? Yeah, but does everybody know about Battlestar Galactica? No, it's still mainly a nerd thing or a fan thing. Or,
Spider-Man is one of the biggest properties in the world.
Anybody, people who don't even read comic books, like my mother can tell you that Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive spider. She knows that. She's never read one Spider-Man comic in her life. The other thing with Battlestar Galactica is that it was a show that, first of all, it only ran for a few seasons back in the day and was not even considered to be all that good. I don't even think it lasted a full season, did it?
No, it lasted a full season.
Okay, it lasted a full season, and so it kind of came.
Then it became Battlestar 1980.
And then people knew about it then, but when it left, it left. And so, therefore, they were able to reintroduce it as a remake. Spider-Man is still something that is continuing. Spider-Man is still.
No, this isn't a continuation. This is a reboot.
No. I'm talking about.
Reimagined.
Oh no, I'm talking about in the comics. I'm talking about
but
Peter Parker is still out there. The comics are still going. People are still relating to Spider-Man as a character that they see in the books. It's not like Spider-Man disappeared for years and everybody forgot about it. And it's like, you know what? Let's bring back Spider-Man, but let's try something different with it here.
Well, but arguably, we've had Spider-Man movies. We've had the White Spider-Man. We've had that character. We've seen that series, and now they're rebooting it and starting it over again just so that they can, show it to us again. And if they're going to show it to us again, let's do something bold with it. Let's go in a new direction, and there is nothing that has to change about Spider-Man. That's what I love about that change. That's the reason he's one of the few heroes you'll hear me say this. Like, I disagreed with having a black Kingpin because I felt that Michael Clark Duncan was wrong for that character because, Kingpin was this big, huge, fat mob boss, and that's not at all what Michael Clark Duncan is. They had to kind of change him and make him a bit more of a street crime boss, and they had to alter him in certain ways, and he had a really hard time pulling off the brilliant mastermind.
Well, what if they actually got a black Kingpin who fit like the physicality and personality of the Kingpin?
I would have been fine with that, but but you would have had to have found somebody who could have pulled that off.
I tell you the other thing with Spider-Man, though, I think that this is the wrong time to even look. Nope, they're not going to do it. First of all,
you know what? I think if the Twitter campaign is big enough, he'll get an audition. I don't think he's going to get the job, but I love that we're having the discussion.
Yeah, and I don't even think he'll get an audition out of this. I think that this is something else. It's like, hey, they're putting the word out there of Spider-Man. They're just building more stories about it. So I think Sony is loving this. That again, somebody's putting Spider-Man out there, but I don't even think he'll get an audition. I think it's unless they do it as a joke or something, which I could see that, but a serious audition, no. And the other thing is, like, let's just say that they wanted to do that. This is the wrong time to even consider doing something like that because a lot of people are afraid that they're going to do something like this. They're just going to go out and take liberties with this character, and people don't want to see that. They want to, after Spider-Man 3, they're going to say, all right, you better be doing this reboot for a good reason, and you better be trying to stay truer to the Spider-Man that we had before, because even though Spider-Man was a big hit and everybody loves it and they say they got it right, in retrospect now, some people are saying, yeah, but they were missing some things with that Spider-Man. One of them you pointed out, which is, when he was fighting, he didn't crack jokes. He just shut up. He didn't do anything.
Oh no, I disagree. He did crack jokes.
Was the first Spider-Man?
In the first two, it was the third one where they went more serious and darker.
I don't know, man. Go back and watch that Spider-Man, because that was my first complaint about when I saw it. That was like my very
Spider-Man
first complaint.
2, he's cracking jokes all throughout. In fact, he was cracking lots of jokes when he first fought Octopus at the bank.
I think he might have made one, but like Spider-Man, what he does is the way he really defeats characters is not so much with fighting. He just gets in their heads because he won't shut the fuck up. They keep like trying to fight him. He's like putting off these puns.
He's the Carlisle of superheroes.
Yeah, he just keeps saying shit, and then they're like, fuck this, and they get frustrated and they can't do anything, and then they lose because they're just tired of this guy, and because he never shuts up. Even if he wasn't like cracking jokes, it'll be like, this guy won't stop fucking talking. And so I don't want to see him be that annoying in the movie where he just keeps blabbing on and on. But I thought that Tobey Maguire, the way that character was written when he was Spider-Man, didn't have the sense of humor that I knew from the books. But that's just me.
All right. Well, let's move on. And to segue, one of my colleagues, Eric D. Snyder, just tweeted, like everyone else on Twitter tonight, I really hope Mr. Donald Glover gets to direct The Hobbit. May have been skimming.
I want to put Gary Coleman in as a new Spider-Man, but he's dead, man.
Gary Coleman, no. Gary Coleman 20 years ago, maybe.
But hey, like you said, when you put that costume on,
what you talking about, Octopus?
Hey, he's still like 4 feet. Well, he was 4 feet high, and you put the costume on him, you're not gonna know any difference. Yeah,
that would have been a great comedy, though. Like, man, Spider-Man is 4.5 feet tall.
Spider midget.
I wonder who this 4.5 foot tall guy is who keeps bringing me photos of Spider-Man. Oh, we're good friends. We have a height in common.
What you talking about, J. Jonah Jason? But man, there's this story about the Hobbit that's kind of got me sad, man.
You know what? It's got me sad and relieved and interested all at the same time. So,
Ooh,
of course, the
do
story
tell.
is what?
Do tell. All these
These,
emotions.
the story is officially Guillermo del Toro pulled out of The Hobbit.
Yeah, now what was the deal? Because I when you asked me about the stories that I heard about that one, read a little bit on it, and the thing that I was reading was he didn't want to spend like what 6 months in New Zealand because he was initially supposed to spend 3.
No, that has nothing to do. He planned on living in New Zealand indefinitely, and he's a very transient guy to begin with. He moved from Mexico to Austin, lived here for a while, moved to L.A., then from L.A. went to spend tons of time in Prague and back and forth between L.A. and Prague for his various films, and now, back in L.A., going to New Zealand. No, it had nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that MGM dropped the ball. MGM fucked us all in a big way. The reason why The Hobbit's taken so long to make as a movie is that MGM had the rights still to distribute a movie called The Hobbit.
So that they never got that worked out? That's
No, they
still
did.
going on?
No. This is what it is they had the rights to distribute a movie called The Hobbit. They didn't have the rights to make one anymore. They didn't have the rights to the books, but they had the rights to distribute a movie called The Hobbit because they distributed a movie called The Hobbit back in the 70s, still maintained the rights. So when New Line, which had the rights to the book, wanted to make The Hobbit, MGM's like, you can make it, but you can't distribute it. So it became a big battle over money, and ultimately they settled it. And what they settled on was, all right, we're going to split the profits, but MGM pays half and New Line pays half, and we split the money on this, and we all make a ton of cash. And so MGM's like, that sounds great. So they shake hands, they sign the documents, and then MGM goes, oh, yeah, by the way, we're bankrupt. We have no money whatsoever, and we can't afford to make this film, so we have to wait until we sell our company, and whoever buys our company can go ahead and make The Hobbit. Oh, by the way, would you like to buy our company? Then you can have all the Hobbit money for yourself. It was one of the most retarded things I've ever seen, and nobody wants to buy MGM. So as a result, The Hobbit has sat languishing without the funding that it was promised by MGM, and Guillermo del Toro has a number of contracts pending of other films that he is obligated to work on or make. And he needs to meet those obligations, and he can no longer sit around. He was supposed to start shooting last summer. That was the
other thing that they couldn't settle on a schedule too. That's one of the things they said. Like they just taking
because
so long.
They don't have the money. They don't know when they're going to start shooting, which is the can't settle on a schedule. Because how long can you really stay here? So he's literally sitting there indefinitely doing pre-production work and doing all this stuff on a film, and he doesn't know if it's ever going to get around to getting made.
There's a paragraph here where it said like the wall started to crumble for Del Toro in recent weeks as the uncertain future of MGM put the project, which was to have been 2 movies, it put it in limbo. So the producers had been hoping to be in production by this summer, but no green light was forthcoming. And like you, I know that he has a lot of movies that he wants to do, and why he's
got some contracts at Universal that he must meet within a certain amount of time, or else they can sue him. And that's something that happens on a regular basis. We don't really talk about it. It doesn't get talked about in the news because it's really kind of ugly business. But directors have to often attach themselves to 4 or 5 films at a time. And sometimes they'll be attached to something that is never going to happen, and then they get attached to something else, and then a studio will up and say, hey, you're still attached on this contract, and we want to make it all of a sudden, so we're suing you if you don't come and make it. And then it becomes a money settlement, and they get money for a movie they never made. And it's an ugly, dirty little side part of the business. And that's something that Guillermo cannot afford to deal with right now. He cannot have a studio suing him for not showing up for movies when he would love to make them, because these are projects he really loves. Because he's sitting around waiting on this.
Is he going to do that? What's it called? Saturn something? The one with the apocalyptic movie?
Saturn at the End of the World?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's on his list of stuff he wants to do, and that's on the list of stuff he's supposed to do.
Yeah. It sounds, if you haven't heard about this, it sounds interesting. It's a little kid. It's the apocalypse shown through the eyes of a little kid as he's walking around during the last days of the world. I believe that's what it is. If you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's well, you've actually heard him talk about it. So
Yeah.
I've only heard from you and from other people that were at that discussion. And I've heard from Harry, who knows a lot more about it, that it just sounds absolutely awesome, and everything he knows about it sounds great. So I'm all aboard. And you know what? I gotta say, that's why I'm sad. I'm sad that he's not going to be on it anymore because I want to see that. Why am I happy? Because it means we're going to get Guillermo del Toro films again, which is something that had been sorely lacking as he's been sitting around twiddling his thumbs, waiting on The Hobbit. What makes me interested is that one of the things that was talked about, Drew McWeeny posited this online tonight, that there's a certain director out there whose last two films have taken serious critical hits and underperformed at the box office. And if he wants to keep his seat at the table, he needs a big hit. And his name is Peter Jackson. So if Peter Jackson wants to pull out of the tailspin that he's in after King Kong and
The Lovely Bones.
The Lovely Bones, a Peter Jackson directed Hobbit movie would guarantee $1 billion worldwide take. And that he's already been attached, he's already been working on it the whole time, and he knows how to do it. All he has to do is step in and direct it. And while he wasn't going to do it before, he's probably having a hard time getting other projects off the ground because everybody's going, yeah, everything you've done that isn't called Lord of the Rings hasn't exactly succeeded. So, what he needs to do is go and do another, Lord of the Rings film. And frankly, that's what we all want to see. As much as we all want to see a Del Toro Hobbit, the only thing we want to see more than that is a Peter Jackson Hobbit.
Yeah,
And
I was really hoping Guillermo del Toro would work on it, though, because, his vision, I think, suits, like, that Tolkien universe so well. And I don't know.
But as Harry has been commenting for the last year and a half, as much as A Hobbit sounds awesome, he was contracted to do 2 films, and nobody knows what that second film was going to be anything like because there's no cohesive story. The idea was to link The Hobbit to Lord of the Rings, and that requires going into the Silmarillion, but there's no actual stories in the Silmarillion. It's so boring. It's a history book on a world that never existed, and it's really tough to get through. I'm sure several of you geeks out there have also done what I've done and tried to sit through it.
Put it in a movie.
Ooh, what?
Don't put it in a movie.
Well, but what else is it going to be?
It's going to be. That's what I liked about The Hobbit is that it's a much simpler story. It's a tale that
No, I'm talking about the second film because The Hobbit is the first film.
I thought that they were talking about splitting The Hobbit itself up into 2 movies.
They changed their mind. No, because that everyone was fine with splitting into 2 movies. There's a perfect delineation point halfway through the book that makes it perfect to split the 2 stories, and that is not what they were talking about here. They were like, no, we're going to do The Hobbit in all one movie, and then the next movie will be bridging the 2 other movies together.
Right.
Yeah, no, because that's where the big question mark was. And
they just need to leave this shit alone. Just not direct anything.
I agree. If they want 2 movies, split it up. If not, then give us 1 movie. Unless they've got a really great idea, but nobody's talked about a really great idea. And it's had a lot of us nervous. So I'm, what I really want to see. Please God, let Peter Jackson come in and direct this and say, I'm the only one who can do this. I am going to direct this. Awesome. That's what I want to see.
I'm tired of holding my breath for The Hobbit, whatever. The Hobbit, whatever you want to call it.
I will never be tired of holding my breath for The Hobbit. I am totally fine.
I'll tell you why. Because I can always go back and watch the Rankin Bass cartoon, which I love anyway. So that is up to date. My favorite Tolkien rendition right there. So.
Well, that's the MGM movie that fucked us all.
Well, no, I know that was it because you can get it under the MGM title on DVD. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, man.
Speaking of MGM titles, just to.
Yes, sir.
And I cannot remember the name right now of who did it, but one of the you spilios out there sent me The Apple on DVD, and I want to thank you and personally say fuck you for doing so. For those of you who have not seen The Apple, it is a mind-bending 1980 terrible science fiction musical that really wants to be the Rocky Horror Picture Show and fails miserably. And if you love really, really terrible films, I'm going to lend this to you, Corey. You're going to watch this thing.
You're going to make me watch it.
Well, no. I'm going to show you the cover of this movie and tell you what it's about, and you're going to go home and watch it immediately.
Oh, really?
Yes,
So I
it
guess you're not
is.
going to tell me right now, because if you tell me while I'm standing in front of you, then it's
Oh
going to
no,
be like,
I'll tell you now.
oh, I
But I
got
mean,
it. Yeah,
really not
please.
much to tell you except that it's a science fiction musical about musicians who a musical group that gets split up because one of them doesn't want to sign with this guy who may or may not be the devil. The girl does, the guy doesn't, and then the guy, becomes destitute and tries to win back his girlfriend while his girlfriend is off living the life with all these 70s crazed disco folk of the future.
You know, it sounds like
It was
that kind of crazy shit that I like.
It's exactly the crazy shit you like. Me and my wife were watching it, and I'm like, wait, this was what 1994 was supposed to look like? And my wife was just like, yeah, at least they got Lady Gaga right. And
And
it
that's
was,
like,
you're gonna dig this shit. It's fucking retarded, but in the best way. So thank you, sir. I'm blanking on your name. Please mention it in the comment section so I can remember. But thank you. It was awesomely terrible.
yeah,
So he
pass
sent
the
me two
savings
films.
on to me.
He sent me that and Little Hercules, so watching Little Hercules is now next.
Cool,
So,
cool. Well,
but
look at
so-
these generous spilios out there.
oh, great Spilios. Love you people. So let's, what do you mean, you people? Let's quickly hit the final news
Oh
story.
yeah, everybody knows by this point Dennis Hopper has died, along with Gary Coleman. Everybody's talking about how people go in threes, but if you think about it, we've had a lot of musicians and actors died. Dennis Hopper, Gary Coleman,
Art Linkletter.
Art Linkletter?
Yeah, the famous game show
Yeah.
host, 60s and 70s.
When?
Thursday.
Wow.
I want to say it's Thursday. Yeah, it was this week.
Wow.
He just died. And then, of course, we lost Ronnie James Dio
Dios.
last week.
Yeah, Lena Horne, and like I said, right before that, anybody who's into hip hop knows that Guru died. So we had a lot of people pass right now. So
Patton Oswalt famously remarked this week, a lot of confused angels right now, not exactly sure how to deal with this. So, can you imagine what the waiting room in heaven is like right now? Really?
yeah, I
What
can
you thought
imagine.
about Dennis Hopper?
The waiting
Would you
room is
stop it with that catchphrase? It's the one thing I got. Sorry, man.
no, the waiting room is where the party is what I'm thinking right now. So if there's
Ronnie James Dio is playing music.
yeah,
Dennis Hopper's telling everybody to go fuck themselves.
yeah, that's funny about Dennis Hopper. I was reading a little bit up on him right after he died, and because he's actually in a movie that everybody overlooks that I love, which is Giant, one of his earliest films, and
Well, he's in a couple of those films back then.
yeah.
Someone else was joking about the fact that that Dennis Hopper was the latest person to die from the famous Rebel Without a Cause curse.
Well, that's the thing, man. He wanted to be James Dean, and he wanted to be James Dean so bad. I think that's his first movie, Rebel Without a Cause, and I think Giant is his third. I don't even know what his second movie is, but he wanted to be James Dean so bad that he became like a nightmare to work with. He had too much attitude.
Yeah, he was kind of crazy. I loved listening to George Romero talk about working with him. And talking about how hard it was to work with him, and that he's a bit of a diva, but at the same time, he'd be sitting there on set, and he'd be okay, action, and Dennis Hopper would go line, and at which point George Romero would say the line is no.
What? Oh, Jesus.
He couldn't remember one word lines, like he was.
Well,
He was sick for a long time, and I gotta wonder how much of it, when you do drugs for that long of your life and for that often, not everything's gonna fire once you get into your 70s.
Yeah, man, he went through just from 2 movies alone where he directed Easy Rider, which he was nominated for 2 Academy Awards. One was for like later on in life for Hoosiers, where he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but he got nominated for Best Original Screenplay for Easy Rider. Actually won that for Best New Work at the Cannes Film Festival. So, but between Easy Rider and Apocalypse Now, you could tell the kind of drug culture that guy was hanging around with. He just loved to party, hanging around with Jack Nicholson most of the time, which I think that was a good buddy of his. Would fuck you up just right there alone. So, yeah, I imagine he was very drug addled later on in life. But yeah, he became one of our best known actors out there, mainly I guess because of some of the freaky stuff that he played. The same year that he won for Hoosiers, he was also nominated. I mean, when he was nominated for Hoosiers, he was also nominated, I think, in the Golden Globe category for Blue Velvet. You remember that crazy role he played in that?
Oh, of course I do. He was great in that movie. In fact, that's my favorite Dennis Hopper performance. I think he's really great in that movie. He was a great actor. He was really fantastic. Although I have to side with several of my friends. My favorite Dennis Hopper moment of all time has to be from the Quentin Tarantino scripted, Tony Scott directed True Romance, where he and Christopher Walken are in the same scene together, and one is interrogating the other, and that scene is just magical.
Yeah.
Just absolutely love that scene, and that's when I think of Dennis Hopper, I always think of that scene first. I think he and Walken together are just so incredible, and with Tarantino dialogue and Tony Scott direction, that it is everything that boiled down is everything Carlyle loves about movies, and it was just so perfect.
Yeah, he did a lot of memorable roles, man. Like I think my favorite performance of his is when he got his head knocked off in Speed. You remember him being such a cool villain? He's one of the few people that actually made Speed like really cool. Besides the action, it's like wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I don't know if any of you have ever seen this, but there's one of my favorite episodes of Muppets Tonight, which was rebooted in the 90s, the Muppet Show rebooted.
Yeah.
There's a great episode in which Sandra Bullock stars, and a Dennis Hopper Muppet. They make a Dennis Hopper Muppet that calls into the station and threatens to blow up the station if the ratings drop below 50. And so they have to do crazier and crazier stunts to keep people watching the show. And it's absolutely hilarious, but they do the greatest impression of him with a Muppet, and it's just so much fun. If you can track down the Muppets Tonight episode, do so, because it's actually one of my favorite Muppet episodes ever. It's just a really fantastic episode.
Cool. I have to watch that. Oh, you know what? I also have to mention, because I know somebody's going to like say this like I don't know it because they know I'm a big fan of Gorillaz. I am kicking myself for not going to the Gorillaz show that they did for Demon Days, because that's one of Dennis Hopper's last things. Amongst all the bazillion documentaries that he did before he died, where he was narrating in them or featuring in them, he actually read through a song, Fire from the Monkey's Head or something like that for Gorillaz, and he actually performed that during a few shows in, I think for sure, in New York and in London. I'm really kicking myself now for not doing that because, well, Dennis Hopper's dead. But yeah, man, a lot of people going. I'm wondering, you know what? Before we get out of here, this is going to be morbid, but who do you think is next?
I have no idea. If I could pick, I'd say Lindsay Lohan, but
if you had a choice,
I had a choice. But yeah, no, I have no idea. None whatsoever. I don't think there's going to be a third. I think this is just a big, huge culling. I think it's like, all right, let's just get rid of the people that aren't really doing much anymore.
Yeah, I always have to like think about somebody that I really enjoy, and I think back fondly, and I know that you haven't seen them in a while, and they were from some show that I used to love, and that person right now would probably be Sherman Hemsley from the Jeffersons. Weeze is already dead.
No. Yeah, but it's not going to be him next. You can only knock out one 80s black comedian at a time.
And we already filled that quota.
Emmanuel Lewis is sitting there going, fuck, he got to go first. Why do I always have to be second to that guy?
Well, at least he knows he's safe for now.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? There could be a tragic, bus accident and take out the whole cast of 227.
But... like they would all be riding a bus together. The 227 tour.
Reunion show somewhere, it's the Gorillaz featuring the cast of 227, and then he just, all of a sudden a busload of drunk nuns comes out of nowhere and cleans them out.
It just takes out the whole cast. And you know what? Sherman Hemsley would be on that bus.
Exactly, and that would be how he goes.
All right, well, let's pray that doesn't happen.
I'm not saying that's gonna happen, but I'm also not gonna say it's not gonna happen, because I'm gonna take the Corey route on this one, because anything can happen.
Anything can happen. All right, people. Good night. Oh, wait a minute. I guess, you know what? We've had a long show. Do you want to...
you know what? I put out a call for questions. If I don't ask a question, people are going to lose their minds. So.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Excuse me for jumping the gun. Go ahead.
Oh, no. It's okay. Hey, I'm fine with doing it a little longer tonight. It's all good.
All right.
Hey, somebody asked, and this is a quick question, whatever happened to the Best of the Decade podcast?
That's a good question. Don't have an answer.
recorded
We didn't do it yet. Hey, you know what? It's the decade. We can go and do that any other time. We just got really busy. Things started happening.
No, we recorded a best of the decade, didn't we?
No, we did not.
No, we didn't.
Mm-mm.
Oh,
No, we never even recorded.
What
that.
happened? We never recorded it. That's what happened. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought we recorded one.
By the way, Carla, I'm gonna tell you, I'm glad that you support the brothers in their choice to be Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong, I like that.
Well, I mean, and it literally, like I said, when it comes to Glover, had anyone just said Black Spider-Man beforehand, I would have given all the reasons you gave. But the minute you mention him, I would buy him. He's one of the few guys I think that is an ethnicity other than white that instantly make me think, hey, I would buy that guy as Spider-Man. He's already muscular, so he could do the Spider-Man thing, but they could dress him down to make him nerdy. We've seen him nerdy. He can play nerdy really well. He can play smart really well. But he can also deliver. He's got incredible comic timing, and I think he's got everything that Spider-Man needs to work. And I think all it would take is a 5-minute short of him as Spider-Man, and everyone would go see a movie. I think if you do a short film, like remember the commercials they did back in early 2001 for the upcoming Spider-Man film, where it was 4 short Spider-Man movies, where it was just they were trailers that had nothing to do with the film, and one of them had to get pulled. They recalled a whole mess of DVDs and VHS tapes because it included a shot of Spider-Man webbing between the 2 towers and a helicopter slamming into.
Yeah, I remember that. That was actually pretty cool. Webbing.
Yeah, they had to pull that because the 2 towers had just crumbled, had just been attacked and fallen a week before those DVDs came out. So it's if they did something like that with him, I think people would buy it. I think they would look at it, they'd watch it and go, this isn't going to work, and for 5 minutes watch it and then be, oh man, yeah, no, that guy's
I hear you. I'm going to be the guy that says I don't want to see it. I'm going to be the crab in the bucket. I know, hey, I hate black people, whatever. You can say that, whatever, but I just don't see it.
Corey Coleman doesn't like black people.
At least Black Spider-Man. So anyway, man, you got a tweet?
Yeah. Let's go with Ryan Quarterman, who asked, do you think Kick-Ass will get a sequel? I hope so, but it was kind of a disappointment. Is there any real chance of it, do you think? And he tweeted later that talking about box office disappointment.
Real simply, I don't think it made the money that they wanted it to, and plus it was such a personal project of the director at the time that I don't think it'll get a sequel, and not anytime soon.
I think it will get a sequel, actually. The thing that's important to note about the Kick-Ass is a special case. Kick-Ass was really well loved by geekdom. It's really going to be well supported on DVD. It's going to be around for years. It's going to be one of those films that just resonates with a certain audience and will definitely profit overall. The important thing to remember about this film is that Vaughn, the director,
Matthew Vaughn,
he owns completely the rights to Kick-Ass. And on top of that, Matthew Vaughn is incredibly wealthy. He comes from money. He has his own money. He made this movie with his own money.
Yeah.
He did not get investors. He made it with his own money. It was his to lose and to do anything with. And so he made his money back by selling it to Lionsgate, and the deal was that they just bought this one. He still retains all the rights, so he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to answer to a studio, and if he wants to take his money and do it, he can. And the important thing to keep in mind is that the only way he's going to do it is if he's got the story.
See, that's the other thing that I think, because I went through my mind too, because I know for a while he was describing this as his his most expensive home movie and whatnot, and I thought he could go off and do another one, but it's going to be since it didn't do the money that they did before. I mean, not that before that they wanted it to initially. I think that it's one of those films where it ends with the promise of a sequel, and they don't want to make a sequel, and to pitch that to the studios again in the way he did it, they're going to be like, no, we don't want to go out on that venture anymore. Now, maybe if you want to go to DVD or straight to Blu-ray DVD or whatever, then you could probably do that.
I have a feeling that this is going to be a Bad Boys situation. Because keep in mind, Bad Boys only made $50 million in the theater. It was not a huge hit. But once it went to video and once it went to cable, people loved the hell out of it. And they spent $150 million to make a sequel to a $50 million film that ended up making a shit ton of cash.
Here's the deal, though. Unless there's some really big, major breakout star with Kick-Ass, I don't think that's going to be the case with Kick-Ass, because with Bad Boys,
Chloe Moritz?
Yeah, I don't think she's no Will Smith. You know, like Will Smith was the person that they probably made that sequel for, because Will Smith became one of the biggest. Like his star was continuing to rise, and so
everybody knew who Michael Bay was.
And everybody knew who Michael Bay. There's so many names that would continue to rise with that. Even Martin Lawrence. So everybody said, yeah, this is a no-brainer to make a sequel just based on that first movie. Just tease people. We introduce these characters. All these people are bigger now. Yeah, we can make a sequel.
I'm telling you that if he wants to make it, he'll make it, and if Lionsgate passes, he'll take it to another company that will profit share with him, and because he can afford to lose the money, but he knows he's going to make it back. And I think that once people see it on DVD, once people realize what it is, if he wants to make one, Millar really wants to make one. The writer, he really wants. He wants to make another one. He's game. So I think if they've got a great idea, and I think if Vaughn is interested, there's nothing that's going to stop him. Vaughn is brilliant, and he's going to do what he wants to do. So do I think there'll be one? I would bet yes.
Okay. I'm going to bet no then. Like I said, at least not anytime soon, and not straight and not theatrically. So that's going to be my thing. You say yes?
You say yes,
and I say no.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, do you have a question for us, or do you want to call it a night?
I guess I could read one here.
Go ahead and read one real quick.
From a guy named Rockefeller Skank.
Rockefeller Skank.
Yes.
Funk Soul Brother.
Not just a song anymore. He's also a Spill member who writes questions. He says, hello. I guess he's from Jolly Old England, and he says, do you think studios again will ever make 2D animation like they once did in the 90s, or did it just die out and will no longer return to on the movie screen? Where were you when The Frog Princess came out? That's all I have to really say. They're probably not going to be coming out in the abundance that they did during the second golden age of animation that Disney presented with The Little Mermaid, and they went on to do Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and a few other films before it eventually sputtered out there because of 3D coming in, and the movies, and frankly, the movies is kind of repeating the same formula for Disney. But I think that you're not going to see them die out. You're going to see them again. Everybody did the same thing when stop motion was around, and then all of a sudden Jurassic Park came up, and they said, "Oh, CG animation, this is incredible. It's so lifelike. It's no longer a need to do stop motion now. We can do everything with computers." And guess what? A movie came out called The Nightmare Before Christmas, and and then it was followed by James and the Giant Peach, and now we're up to stuff like what was that movie, Clementine, whatever, that came out recently, and you know which movie I'm talking about. You loved it. Hello? Damn. I guess he went away. Well, I guess that's good. Oh, wait a minute. Where were you? Hello? Can you not hear me?
Can you hear me?
Whoa,
Hello?
Hello?
Can you hear me at all?
I cannot. And I don't know why I said that, because you can't hear me now. Okay, then. Well, Coraline came out, and therefore we've had a lot of stop-motion movies that have came out. And I think that's going to be the same thing with 2D. Nothing really dies out, okay? It doesn't go extinct. The technology, I mean, the medium is still there. It doesn't cease to exist just because a new technology has been introduced. So now that except unless you're Carlisle, which you totally ceased to exist after a while, apparently, because he just disappeared. I'm sure he wouldn't mind me saying.
Can you hear me now?
Hey, are you there?
Good night, everybody. Hello.
Hey, he can't hear me, but in the words of my friend here whose computer is fucking up right now, I will say good night also. Good night, people.
Good night, everybody.